Welcome to Skin and Soul. I'm Gwenm A, a transformational body, sex, and soul coach, and I'm inviting you on a bold, unfiltered journey into the heart of our humanity through the lens of Eros. This is where we strip away the shame, dive into the unspoken, and embrace the wild, raw truth of our desires. Together, we'll crack open the taboo, uncover our deepest intimacies, and awaken the pulse of our sexual essence. Because real transformation, it's messy, it's thrilling, and it's oh so delicious. Buckle up, loves. Skin and Soul Beyond the Pale starts in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Hello, welcome. I'm Gwenm. I'm your host on Skin and Soul, as well as a body, sex, and soul coach and the creator of Luvology. And I have with me today Dagmar Baumunk, who is a somatic sexual liberation and empowerment coach. She's also a certified Tantra practitioner and an international retreat leader, amongst many other things, including a writer and filmmaker. So today, we are going to talk about Shibari, and we're not going to get into the technical things around it, but really about how Shibari isn't just rope. It's about what surfaces when you can't escape yourself. And Dagmar and I went there like, fuck yeah, totally into the surrender, into the power. And tonight we're just going to speak from inside those knots. Yes. Oh, and I call her a cosmic mermaid because that's, you have to imagine as we start to talk about Shibari that she is this elegant, long elven creature, and I am much, much more petite. So really a beautiful experience and how we came to this. So I just want to invite you in. Thank you for being here and sharing this.
Thank you for having me, Gwen.
Yeah. So we started talking about the things that we wanted to experience, and Shibari came up, and it was it just showed up because you had met Heather. So I'll have you take over a little bit on how that happened.
Yes. So, since you recently moved to Berlin, and I also find myself in the city, right? Of all these kind of interweaving constellations. We just got to talk about how nice it would be to do a workshop together. Mm-hmm. And then I remembered Heather Dawn, who is at Ecstatic Rope, our Shibari mistress that mm-hmm. held the for us, and I just told you about her and that she was in Berlin and how great it would have been to have a session together. Cue next morning, and I'm getting a message from her saying, "Hey Dagmar, are you in Berlin? Would you love to have a Shibari session?" And I was like, "Oh, Gwenm, look, who just contacted me!" And then things just happened so fast, and it was just so aligned.
Yeah. And for her too, she didn't expect a second person to come along, right? So we had what shows up in my life, threes, right? This threesome kind of scenario, which I was like, just like this beautiful dance between the three of us. And for those of you who don't know what Shibari is, it's the Japanese art of rope tying. And it's used, it's probably now very, very familiar with the BDSM and kink community, but it is also a huge healing modality and used also for meditation and reflection, as well as just an incredible art when you see those ties, the knots, and the way the formations happen. So so I know we started off with these beautiful intentions, and I'm just going to ask you, so what because I know what my experience, I was terrified at first. I was like, I don't know what I just got myself into. Right. What were you thinking before we even got in there the night before?
Yeah. Good question. So that was my first Shibari experience. So I had experienced it once before at the Tokame Tantra Festival, where there were two facilitators who guided couples into that experience. So they were teaching us just like a few knots and how to do it. So I ended up with a friend of mine, who we then did it together, and it was already quite a deep experience where mm-hmm. I just really tasted this first surrender and this being held and being bound, and this, mm-hmm. and this freedom which you feel, and just letting go, because there's nothing you can do than to let go. so like that kind of gave me like a taste and an appetite of what lies beyond the ropes, or what is happening during a session. So, and then doing it together with you, so that was a solo experience. It was with someone, like we took turns being tied and tying, but it was my own experience. So now it felt really right to do it with you together. But then when we had our pre-call, and then Heather said something like, so like, would you like to be bound together, or how would it be to be tied together? I actually felt like a fear, like I really felt this constriction in the throat of like, oh my God, like tied to another human being, like in that way. And I had been doing a lot of cord cutting just the whole week, like leading up to this. Like it was really ironic that suddenly, like there was this like, how about really being tied to another human? So yeah, I really
Yeah.
felt fear about this, and some kind of panic. I think it's just a kind of like claustrophobia, like that was not just being in the ropes, but also then being tied to someone else. And but I was just thinking, okay, I'm just going to lean into it. I'm just going to breathe into it and just go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you did. I mean, and you definitely are very anchored into your breath work, because as I was listening to you, we'll go into it deeper, but just listening to you, I remember kind of borrowing your breath at some points, right? Because I was like, oh, but yeah, well, I want to come back to that, because I think that's such a beautiful piece of it, because I know the night before I was terrified. I was like, oh, I don't know what I just got myself into. I don't know if I can do this, as somebody who has severe anxiety. And remember, I had taken, I had been in a spa moment and was like wrapped up in some God knows whatever seaweed, and had just my body, bound. And I thought, oh my God, what happens in this like crazy tight feeling when you can't get out? And as you say, you're tied to another person. And so now it's like carrying the responsibility and the accountability with someone else of like whatever happens. And I remember her saying right at the beginning, like, we're okay, this is it, right? So we're gonna, and everything being really consensual about, if tell me if they're to slow down, that there's yellow or there's red, and everything ends, right? So part of me was like, okay, there's an escape route. And I didn't want the escape route, but I was like, okay. And as soon as we started in this beautiful dance, right? Palm to palm, kind of the three of us trying to feel into where are we starting from, and really having no idea. I think that's part of the beauty of this practice, right? You have no idea where the rope artist is taking you. And I'm not sure they necessarily know where they're taking you. I mean, I think, she said she was following her intuition, and she's not here to talk with us today, but, one thing I love what Heather did is that she has this deep intuition of, like, with you, she really leaned into your surrender. She leaned in. She was really picking up and fine tuning of, where she could go with both of us in terms of individually. And I really want to take this moment to divide the difference between eroticism and sexuality, because I never felt sexual, but I did feel the eros and the eroticism the whole way through. And part of it for me was like to feel more pleasure in my body, to be able to take those like wavegasms and orgasms, and yeah. So how was your experience? Yeah.
Yes, and I really think it started way before the actual session, didn't it? So like already with me contacting her back in April or May, right? And then trying to hook up, like to kind of get some session together, it never working out, and then it coming about in a very unplanned way. And the way that also Heather, I think, was like giving us instruction, asking us, talking to us beforehand, right? We meeting up online, just really like feeling into each other's energies, into each other's desires, intention, fears. And so that already felt really, really thorough, and very much like building a base, building a foundation, which then becomes the container, right? And the safer it feels, like the deeper you can go. And it's just like she was really like creating this deep, deep space for us. And being prepared, right? She said that she had been meditating on our session beforehand and feeling into it and having some ideas and having some inspiration and maybe seeing some constellations, but then really just going with the flow. And I really loved it. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a structure and a little bit of something, but then like, let's just trust the energy between the like three of us. I completely trust you. There's such a beautiful bond between us. And then Heather like coming into this, right? And then hey, it just became this Trinity energy that was so solid, so powerful, and so loving.
Mm-hmm. And so okay, so if you don't mind speaking to just like what were some of the intentions that you came in with, and
Mm-hmm.
did they change at all over the experience? Like did they alter it all?
Mm-hmm. So I came in with really wanting to trust and surrender because I
Mm-hmm.
got deep issues with both. You know, like not trusting, like needing to be in control, and just really learning it quite late in life that there is usually a gift, a reward if you let go of control, but like there is, for me it's a very very long path, right? So it's like it's a bit of a jump also to do Shibari because I'm like this is really scary, but rather than
Mm-hmm.
letting it stop me, which I think I would have done maybe even three or 4 years ago, I was like, oh, this is a doorway, right? So this is like I'm afraid that it could be a stop sign, but actually why don't I use it to lean in, but doing it also in a very safe way with you that I trust and with a teacher
Mm-hmm.
that, so that making sure that it can be the best possible experience, right? So not to be like re-traumatized or not to be like re-wounded. So yeah, it was trust and surrender. And then I also felt I really wanted to reclaim power. I wanted to reclaim pleasure, and reclaim, yeah, my sensuality and my, I mean, I had like a long, we both had like long lists, right, of
Yeah,
intentions.
I had like, I'm like,
Exactly.
oh, whatever she said was like a yes for me. I was like, yes. And because I kind of came in a little, I had felt the weight in my body, right? I felt like lately, I just feel like I've been carrying the weight of the world, literally on my body. And which is interesting because again, these things come up just like you were doing the cord cutting and now suddenly you were bound to somebody. I think it was also interesting. Like we got into this pose at one point, just we were bound together and you completely surrendered into the pose and my body was holding you. And I was so amazed at the strength within my body, which came up through, it was a theme throughout our session. It was just, I felt my pillar within me. So I had like this really interesting experience of surrender, not surrender like complete abandonment, but for me, it was like the surrender of like, I'm so good in my power. Like I'm so centered. I was like very engaged in everything, but not, um, I didn't find that same beautiful surrender. And I loved watching you, by the way. So, I peek open. I was like, absolutely, I'm a wire, right? I'm like, I'm watching her tie you and just like the beautiful, watching you surrender so beautifully and being absolutely enraptured by all of
Mm,
the
mm,
subtleties and the
mm,
nuances.
mm, mm. Oh, beautiful. Oh, when you say that, like the way that I saw you was also like very, very, very still, very calm, very much resting in your power. I felt that this was this very anchored, very
Mm.
grounded energy that didn't need to move to be just so, yeah, so powerful. I just felt you like, "Woof, I am here fully and completely. Wow. And there's no other place I want to be. There's no other way I need to be. I'm here for myself. I'm here for you. I'm here for all of it." So that's how it felt to me.
Yeah. And that's how it felt in the body. And it's so, looking at our separate intentions because we were playing in polarity, so
Mm.
everything, right? From fight
Yeah.
to breath, to the intention of surrender and having more of a pillar. And we had these moments when, so the first formation or position that we were in, we went in together. And I just remember being so grateful because I was like on top of you, kind of like you were in this fetal downward position. And I was like over you like this as she started to tie. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Right. And like I could hear you breathing and like, your hair is down and I'm like, oh my God. And I could hear the intensity of your breath grow. And there were places where your breath was like definitely deep and sourcing in deeply, to be in the experience fully. And I just kept thinking, oh, thank God I've got the air, right? Like I was so happy for leaning into the sky and having those positions. I was like, oh, yes. And then noticing as parts of me started to go numb or feel restrictive and thought, oh, there's like this magic between, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I have no idea, how long this is going to go. And is this the only position we're doing for 2 hours?
Yes, totally delving into the mystery and into the unknown, like handing ourselves over. And I remember when she started to tie the ropes, it almost felt, they were like snakes or something, but they were I couldn't even feel them really or like see them. Because I had my eyes closed, but it felt like they were almost tying themselves by themselves. So where, Heather was, she was even like she sometimes wasn't visible or even like, I couldn't really like feel that she was there, but she was at the same time so present. But there was also this energy that she could be like a shapeshifter, right? That she could be just any time. And these ropes were just doing their own thing, as if like they had their own energy that was just following the energy that we created together. So then later seeing the pictures that she took afterwards, I was like, wow, I would have never thought like being like on the front, that we created this beautiful, wow, it was almost like a paint, this beautiful thing. I don't know, it became like something that was like beyond the 2 of us or even the like 3 of us.
Yeah, it became the art form, and I could see how you dive into this mystery, which I think for me is like the most I think what really always attracted me to Shibari. Whenever I've seen images and pictures, I always think, oh, it's going to an energetic space that is still extraordinarily physical, right? There's like this energy that you're connecting into with your rope artist and whoever's with you in the room. And there was this bound feeling. And I have to say, I loved the feeling of the rope, which I didn't expect, because I think, I had fears of, I'm going to feel rope burn. I'm going to feel like this restrictive and pinching on my skin. And I don't know if it was just that she was such a beautiful master at it. I imagine that people have different, very, very different experiences. But, just the rope coming by my skin, I was like, wow, that's such a beautiful textile. It was such a beautiful feeling. It didn't burn. It didn't rub. It was like, oh, these are beautiful ropes going across my skin. And like I said, I still remember like my foot going numb, and I thought, okay, this is okay. or like, did I really get myself into a comfortable position enough for going endless amounts of time? And that was the first one I think we did solo before coming back together, when she bound us in our arms together. Yeah. And I remember that's when you had like completely surrendered in the back, and I was like, wow. My hands started to go absolutely numb, and she said, don't worry, you can go 3 hours without your hand, without any limb falling off, like not coming back. And I was like, okay. She's like, maybe you can say something.
Yeah.
I was like, do I say something now? My hands are like cold, or I'm not really feeling it. But what it brought up for me is, and I always say it in everything I do, which is that numbness is super loud, and that numbness is a sensation. And in this case, numbness really, it's a very strong, loud sensation. And the numbness kept coming up for me. The whole time I was like, oh, I'm still numb here, or I'm still very held. in places. I was like, oh, isn't that interesting? And so that orgasmic wave feeling that like I had been looking for, in release or whatever, you're bound tight. You're like, oh, you're waiting for the sensation of like let go. So all of the energy rushes back into the extremities or places. And I thought, and I had this like feeling in my hands of this incredible heat and like I'm going to say like prickling sensations in my fingers. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not what I was looking. I mean, I can give my judgment. Not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite what I would call pleasure, but happy to know that there's still something flowing through here. But I did in a couple of places, but definitely more towards the end. Is like I was like, oh, soften. And as soon as I softened, I was like, oh, now I can feel the energy. And remember when we left, I was like, oh, now I feel the energy rippling through me. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah.
Yes. So almost like you had to be like released completely in order for everything to alchemize, for everything to really start flowing, right? So it's kind of the aftermath. It's almost like the integration. Yeah, exactly. Right? The integration when really everything is allowed to happen because your body finally fully relaxes.
Yeah. And how did you feel like once, because like I said, you're a master of breath. Okay. So this one is hanging upside down, suspended in an inversion, which is the one thing I said, please don't invert me because I won't be able to take it. And this one is like in an inversion for, I'm going to say what felt like an endless amount of time, right? Because once she had you there, it was almost, I know that she came over to me to start tying me up to suspend me. And I was thinking, you're breathing. And I'm like, oh God, and I knew that you were in, or I felt that you were in a good place, that you were definitely grounded into your breath. But I remember your breath impacting my breath as in I was like, oh, I couldn't handle that breath. Like my window of tolerance was like, interestingly hitting its edges of like, wow, that's intense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So magical though.
Yeah. So, and again, like that was a buildup because in our conversation on our talk that we had before our session, the three of us, like you said, oh, I don't want to be inverted, right? I don't want to be like put up. And the moment that you said it, I was like, oh, that sounds like heaven to me. It's almost like you were giving me the idea, you were giving me the inspiration because I had not even thought about doing anything like this. So I felt this desire, kind of what like my body was asking for it. Can I just completely just let it all hang out? I was always like, and when it then happened, so even before because we didn't really know what she was going to do, right? She gave us some pointers, but at the same time, we didn't.
Okay.
Exactly. So I felt like a few, like 10 seconds before she started to put like to do the harness, right? Like to make a really strong support here.
And I love that harness, by the way. I love that harness. That harness felt so good. It felt like natural armor, but like not like this, like it felt like my scaffolding of my rib cage and my spine. And I was like, wow, this feels good.
Yeah, it felt like you could be hoisted onto anything and everything, and you would be so safe and held. So she then, so just when I thought, oh, I would love to be upside down, like she started to tie the ropes and then pull me up, and then slowly, like putting me into this position. And I was like, wow. So yeah, I've never really, I mean, I'm doing handstands sometimes, right? But I've never been in that position, I think, for more than a minute, maybe. So I'm not like a super yogi or anything like this, right? So like hanging like this and then just really feeling into it and also releasing my neck because there was a part of me that the neck almost wanted to kind of hold on, right? So like then just to also trust and just to drop my neck. So everything was just hanging, I just felt like almost like meat or like something that was just like flesh. And at the same time, I became weightless because I just surrendered to this way of this unnatural way of being. And then at some point I just looked up and I saw your foot dangling, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is like It's like a hangman scenario. It just became like there were so many
Yeah,
things.
it's my legs hanging, my foot just hanging. But that was after because she had suspended me in a place, and I was like, just so we're clear, I can't stay here for very long, right? It was like she hoisted me up, and it was not the body position because again, I had that body harness on, and I was like, oh yeah, that's good. But I think it was where, and I said it was after where the rope was hitting in my breast. It was burning in a way that it just didn't feel quite right. And then at some point she bent my leg in a way, and I was like, I don't think I bend that way, but okay. But it was hanging in that space with my head facing the ground, like being parallel to the ground, where I thought, oh, this I can do. This sense of flying. I think you like to dive. This is where I call you like the cosmic mermaid, because you were just like, when I watched you, you were just this beautiful long flesh of like just this body that was like going hanging down with this beautiful natural curvature. Really gorgeous to witness.
And can I just say the same? But I loved also what you said at the beginning about the polarities. So it almost happened like we were going into some kind of polarity plane naturally, right? It just so happened as if like nature is looking for this balance, is like looking for this play, for this dance. And then being in my own experience and then also witnessing yours and just like being in awe of your energy and of just the sheer beauty of you and the ropes and this energy of just being so still and so present and so surrendered. And then also witnessing Heather doing. So it was like my own experience, our experience together, this we recreated, but then also the three of us, right? So it became this really layered experience that was like, wow, like there's so many things all happening here at the same time. I can be part of like yours, right? You can be part of mine. And then Heather interviewing this film. Oh, it was like so rich and juicy.
It was rich and juicy, and it felt safe, I have to say, because like as an energetic, I don't necessarily hand over my energy or my I certainly don't hand over my sexuality easily, and that didn't and that wasn't present, but the eros was, and I could feel into my own limitations of what I wanted to share, right? Like what I wanted to share energetically. And at one point, I know she was teasing me, and she was just trying to see where the boundaries were. And she bit me, which I still think, I still got like a little reminiscent there. Like she bit me hard, and I was like, whoa. And she was like watching me, and I could feel my inner, I'm going to call her the bratty sub or whatever it is, right? Like, but I actually felt my, and I think that was the theme for me, right? It was like this absolute resilience of, oh yeah, no, this hurts, but I can take it. Like this is okay. This pain is like fine with me. Kind of wearing her bite as a badge. I was like, wow, yeah, okay. And then she left me there to be like for my foot to go numb. So I like left my body in this like another beautiful formation, and I was like, wow. But I think that was like one of the highlights of my experience, because I always consider, like, I love to nibble and bite in my own personal play, but I've never bitten anybody that hard. But it was like, it was satisfying, which brings me back to later at the end of it, right? We go out to integrate or whatever. We went to go out and eat after, and I had been famished, and we get to dinner, and I was like, I'm full. I don't think, my body knows satiation very easily. It's always like looking for a form of satiation. And like after leaving that experience, my body was like, no, you're good. You don't need anything. You actually just need to go to bed, go to sleep, whatever it is, go integrate the experience.
Yeah, totally. And like just coming back to what you said about like the little bites and like little slaps, right? And again, like she was checking with us beforehand if that would be okay, which was again really beautiful. And I really like this kind of playful mood about it as well, because it otherwise it could be also like very serious, and we are doing this
Stodge.
kind of Japanese art, and like just like don't laugh. So it became, it had this other component of also like we are also having fun. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it also took me a little bit out. I think when I was maybe too much in this kind of trance, into this kind of whatever that was going on, like it took me out, and in a really beautiful way, that I almost went deeper into my body, because I had a little pinch, or it almost kind of like woke me up. So rather than
Mm-hmm.
going into this kind of dissociation, which could happen, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like wake up call. Okay, come back, be here. Let's engage, like energetically, mentally, emotionally. So it was, yeah, it just kept being that beautiful dance. And what you said about the satiation,
Mm-hmm. Satiation. Such a good satiation.
I felt like afterwards, I felt high, I felt enlivened, but there was,
Mm-hmm.
because being so fully embodied, I think I've never experienced this kind of embodiment for such a long time without being in the head, unless maybe you sleep, right? Or I don't know, or maybe you are like off your head or something. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
so I think it was really also like making me so tired. I remember we were like sitting like later for dinner, and I could hardly like listen, like my brain stopped functioning. And I was just like, I think I just need to lie down, because like I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. Well, I know like journaling for me, when she said, "Oh, go, you need at least 2 hours of integration." And I think for me that the integration actually followed into yesterday and even
Yeah,
today.
for
But
me,
yesterday I was done. I didn't get out of bed. I
yeah.
didn't do anything. I journaled. I had a day planned. I was like, and what was okay, so going back to a moment where you were in surrender and I was in that held position, and Heather said afterwards, she said, "Oh, I could see," because right, I was taking so much pride in like, look how fucking strong I am, right? I can hold this queen. And I was like, yeah, warrior ass. And that was, yeah, I kept thinking, oh God, here's my warrior ass. And when she said at the end, she was like, oh, but I was asking myself whether you wanted to have that holding, right? And I said, well, absolutely. In that moment, I did. But what it did do in that moment is informed me in my life, right? So this like deep reflection coming to me in my life, because then after we went to go see my mom in the hospital, and I had a complete collapse yesterday. Like I can still feel it going through my being. Like I feel the softness. I was like, oh, I can hold a lot, and do I want to always be holding? And in that context, absolutely, it was like it brought out the best part of the goddess, right? Like it was like, yes, I'm in a play, I'm in reflection, but as soon as she said that, I was like, oh, look where else, everywhere you're holding, so much bigness around, and just being so aware of it, and being in full collapse yesterday, and then like spending the day just coming back to the journaling.
Wonderful. Wow. So it's almost like for like you, the journey wasn't to really letting go of this needing to be strong. And even though you can hold so much and you can do so much,
Mm-hmm.
yes, but how is it if I allow myself not to, right? What if I just allow myself to collapse, not always being there for like someone else, or doing something, needing to be strong so the other person can disintegrate or be whatever they need to be, nah? So what if I just give that to myself, and inviting also in being held, right? Which is like the next
Being
step.
held, right? Having somebody else come in, and being able to be held by someone else, right? So I've been on this journey of I just want to be more in my feminine. I just want to be more in my yin, not in collapse, not like in complete like victimhood, but to
Yeah,
be able to soften with someone, and to be able to feel like, oh, someone has my back. Like it's not just me holding up all of the
yeah.
scaffolding. And so I remember being in like just a little, not just like in a lot of awe of like listening to you move through this incredible surrender. And I surrendered to my power, but I wasn't able to surrender into like deep softness, right? I didn't expect to. I can't say that I expected it in the experience because I know me, but I didn't expect to have that much strength. And
Mm.
it was beautiful to watch. And I remember, because Heather was definitely, I want to say, more playful with you because you had the energy that was allowing that in. And I was like, oh no, I'm really good
Mm.
being fully present to everything without, like I said, like I was just not in a place of like, I was like, oh yeah, I don't know her, like I meant her, like, I didn't know Heather well enough to open up that vulnerable space because you're already in a vulnerable space
Yeah.
to,
Yeah. Yes.
and that brought me to like, oh shit, yeah, like I'm a person who needs long courtships, right? Like I'm a person who needs like a long, exchange of energy before that
Yeah.
like really starts to soften and open.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And again, like because I had contacted Heather like a few months earlier, so even though
Mm-hmm.
we were in like a deep exchange or anything, but I've been like looking at her Instagram and Facebook, so there was this kind of like an energetic connection building, right? Whether we would like actually have a session together or not, I didn't know, but
Mm-hmm.
so we had that kind of pre bond or pre connection with you. You just came in like 3 days beforehand, right? So of course it's a different thing.
Well, and you know what's interesting because I just done a what do you call it? Oh my God, a human design reading, right? And she said to me, she's like, "Oh, you're a manifesting generator, which means that, you know, if you go out and seek, right, it's like you're going to end up with a lot of obstacles. So you just need to respond." And so I thought it was so interesting to just be able to say, "Yeah, I want to do Shibari," and boom, like literally the next morning, you're like, "Hey, so." Right. It
Mhm.
was just like this, like receiving end of like, oh, let's just going with this flow. And I thought, oh, that's amazing. That's interesting.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
just put a
Energetic
little desire
opening.
out there, like a little
Just
wish,
put the
right?
design.
Wait for it
Little
to happen.
wishes.
Hmm.
Yeah. $1 billion on my head tomorrow morning. No.
That is great.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. So what does surrender mean to you now? Like, has the definition shifted from before? Did you like how did you experience surrender in this?
So I think surrender as an idea, right? That is like an intellectual idea, or you see the person like in battle with the white flag. Um, like an embodied surrender is two very different things.
Mhm.
Um, so I felt that I could really lean into this physical surrender. I think it was mainly. So I think there's still emotional and mental places. I think where there's still a lot of space for me to learn how to surrender. But that was a beautiful access
Mhm.
point and entry. So I know what it feels like now to surrender, and I know that it is safe, which I think is also a re-imprinting for my nervous system and for all the times that I was not safe and that I was without power and I was wounded and I was hurt.
Mhm.
So giving up power and being safe, I think especially for a woman, is just so powerful.
Absolutely. Since you bring that up, that sense of, and I did feel safe. We were talking after about, a female rope artist versus a male, and just coming from different angles, right? And I definitely feel that working with a woman felt like a much safer place to be for me, right? Like, and just even in feeling into the tenderness of the skin and probably having maybe slight more compassion. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of beautiful men out there, male rope artists that are exquisite and sensitive and intuitive, but just feeling as an entry point for me,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
that felt really good. And so this morning or today when I went to go see my mom, I had an experience, and actually just brings me back to this like point of warrior person. So, you know, it's a psychiatric hospital, and so we're sitting outside, and my mother's talking to her brother, And this man, who's, a patient clearly, like had looked at me and pointed me out for a second and kind of like, he's like, stop laughing or something like that. And, we were just talking. And so he gets up at one point and he starts to walk towards me and he goes, I'm going to kill you if you laugh. Right. Like he's a big guy, but I could just feel my body get up. And I was like, you're going to stop that right now. I wasn't laughing when I said it, but I was like, yeah, that's enough. And you don't threaten me. And he backed off. And I was like, I felt good in my system. I was very aware of the situation, but it was like, again, it was tapping into that space of like, oh, I can hold myself. I don't need to crouch down and just like succumb to the fear of whatever's going on, right? Like yeah. I can stand and hold my ground.
Beautiful. What
yeah,
an
right?
encounter. Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm.
Mm-hmm. So
like testing it, right? Like
testing it.
So like you can feel whatever you want to feel, but unless you put it to the test, right? Like the universe is like, okay, let's see how she will react to this. And you're like, okay, I'm ready. I won't back down. Wow.
No, and it was visceral, right? And I think a lot of this work and doing, so much somatic work over the years, right? So like at some point I'm like, oh, it's there. It's all of the structure and the instincts are now there, and it's just about trusting it. So but yeah, that just came to mind to me in this moment of like, oh yeah, like just feeling those formations. And then bringing that into life of like, oh, hey, yeah, no. This is a no. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I would also like to add that I think we were also re-imprinting our nervous system. And I think that's also where this tiredness came from afterwards. Like I think it worked on so many deeper layers that we're not probably even conscious of, like more subtle layers, right? That was really like, wow, like imagine re-imprinting safety in our nervous systems. Wow. I mean, how big is this, right? So yeah, so I think this work is huge if you are doing it with the right person. That's like wow.
Yeah, that it's such a deep healing modality. And yes, I know it's like I said, at the beginning, it's really popular in the kink or BDSM community doing tying and so on. But this space, and I love this space, by the way. It was like jiu-jitsu, right? A jiu-jitsu dojo. And so the environment didn't feel like any kind of dungeon. It wasn't industrial. It was like this beautiful, serene place. Even the log, right? It was a log. It wasn't some steel bar. Everything felt really organic and beautiful and gorgeous. And so it felt like a meditative state. It didn't feel, or a space, like it felt really light and airy and cozy and warm. Like it just felt like cocooning in a way. And I was like, oh, this is nice. Like I don't, instead of like going into basically a gym, here's like
kind of warehouse,
warehouse. Yeah, all the irons. Right. This just felt very inviting. And so I'm so grateful that was the experience. So in terms of like your sense of being tied and freedom, how did you experience the tightness or the tautness and being tied versus like the freedom?
Good question. I think that at the core of our being, like, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think like a lot of people just want to experience freedom and liberation from whatever constraints they feel, right? Whether they are real or imagined, doesn't really matter. So freedom is, I think, for me, so if I would frame it after the Shibari experience, I would say to really soften and to really surrender to whatever constraint that you feel, whether real or imagined or perceived or, like the more you relax into it and the more you accept it, the more freedom you're going to feel, or the more freedom you're going to experience, right? So whatever that might be, you might be in a job that you don't like, or in a relationship that just makes you feel like, oh, if it wasn't for that person, I would be doing this, that, and the other, right? So always like it's them like stopping me, or it's the boss, or it's the whatever that is, right? And it's it's
Yeah.
not really, right? So it's like how much like you've chosen the situation. So what is it that you need to accept? What is it that you need to soften into in order to move through to the next level, right? And the more the less resistance, the more flow there is. So it's almost like, okay, it's all
Yeah.
here for you. Mm.
Yeah. Because the more held you are, right? Like the more you resist against a rope,
Exactly.
the more challenging it became, right? Like I did have this point where I was like, oh, I could feel some anxiety rising because I wasn't sure where how tight the next strip was going, like the next tie was going to be. And I remember at one point I was like, oh, just breathe. Like I could allow it to go to my head and create more sensation, or I was just like, oh, I'm just going to breathe into it. And I was, kind of dancing with this, like, am I dissociating? And I don't think I was dissociating, but it was definitely like, oh, this is how we can also numb things. This is how we can soften into things. There's like a beautiful mirror of like, oh, I'm in this situation, like you said, like whatever it is in relationships, we do it all the time. And I've even had like in relationship, I could feel my skin get tight, like, right, where
Yeah.
you're just like, oh. And this is just like this physical representation of like whenever you have felt restrained and constrained and bound. And it was like, oh, but it's not so bad when you're like just in it and going, oh, the ropes are actually not here to punish me, right?
Uh-huh.
These ropes were not here to punish us, right? But
Uh-huh.
also how we punish
Uh-huh.
ourselves and how we
Mhm.
can make push against resistance. Okay, so I'm going to ask you one more question before I take you into my traditional or becoming traditional into questions based on James Lipton's my version of James Lipton's and Bernard Pivot's questions. So I have two. Okay, I'm going to ask both of them, and you can decide which one resonates or weave them in. So,
Uh-huh.
for you, does Shibari echo in any part of your life right now? So, in restraint, in patience, waiting to be seen, and what lingers in your body now after the ropes are gone?
Okay. So how does Shibari like, oh, the idea of it, like how is that kind of present in my life? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think it's definitely a theme of cords, of ties, right? Cutting them, forming them, like seeing also maybe the beauty about like being tied to someone and breathing into this, right? And what it kind of like, wow, what it does with the body, because I have actually avoided attachment issues big time. So for me, it was really something
Yeah.
to break through, So it was quite big, like mentally, emotionally as well. Um, and what else? What did you ask? And then, so how is
And
it?
so now that the ropes are gone, what's
Yeah.
lingering after the ropes are gone?
I mean, I was happy to come down. So while I was hanging upside down, so I think I don't know, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, but I started to visualize like, oh, how would it be to come back onto the ground and just to kind of spread eagle on the floor. I was like almost I had this kind of desire to just be again grounded, which I think is also
Hmm.
so. So yeah, and then it happened, of course, right? Because Heather is such an intuitive, and she's like she was working with the energy, she felt it. So like being then back on the ground, and there is a new calmness inside of me, and definitely a deep
Mm.
embodiment, and it's a more of a presence. It's almost like I'm a bit slower. I don't need to do quite as much. There's less anxiety. I mean, it
Hmm.
was such an empowering experience, and like going deeper into love, into trust with you. So, it was almost like a affirmative experience on so many levels. Like I'm like, wow, thank you, universe, because I think it really overrode like a lot of previous very painful, very abusive experience that I've had. So it's almost like,
Yeah.
wow, thank you for that. Like it healed a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I can speak to that. And I love that you just brought in the rope, the attachments, the cord cutting, because I had done some cord cutting myself over the last little bit. And I'd also And also the beauty in being bonded. We don't celebrate enough in this world. We're all about like be an individual, don't need anybody. Like, celebrate your singleness or whatever. Like, and I'm like, yeah. And we're creatures we're pack animals, and we are meant to bond, and how important it is, and how beautiful, and how when you allow polarity even to show up, right? Like, and creating and allowing, right? It's like, and I love that you brought that in. So, yeah,
Oh,
I'm going to
like all
carry
these
that. And I think,
pillars.
right.
Oh,
And
these
I'm
are
like,
good
I'm like,
stuff.
I'm
Yes, thank
leaving
you.
with
Thank
it.
you.
I'm leaving with all of these pieces. They still keep coming as I'm writing and journaling and so on. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is absolutely comes into relationship, and relationship with the rope artist, relationship with, you being in the room, and then also in every part of life around. Like, where do we have bonds? How we
Yes.
stop ourselves?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so we
totally.
have like 7 minutes, and they
Yeah.
always take a while. So I'm just gonna fire them off, but don't feel pressure, right? Right, Nat. There's no pressure in like getting out on time. Okay, so first question: what's one truth your body has always known that your mind took years to catch up to?
I'm an eternal being.
Mm,
Mm.
thank you. What's the most intimate moment you've ever had that had nothing to do with sex?
Definitely Shibari. Yeah.
You're here to that, yeah.
Mm.
If you could be remembered for one sensation you gave someone, what would it be?
Oh, a cosmic orgasm.
Yeah. Um, if pleasure were a language, what would your first word be?
Love.
Mm, thank you. And if your erotic life had a title, like a novel or a film, what would it be called?
To find ecstasy and pleasure in everything that I do. Okay, that's not a really great title, but it would be something like She is a Walking Orgasm.
Ooh. Now, what's one thing you've never said out loud that you wish someone would ask you about?
Like, how are you? And really, really listening. Like,
Mm,
the other person, no matter what you're going to reply, is there to take it all in and to be with it. Mm.
yeah, you're here. Thank you. What is what part of your erotic self are you still afraid to bring to the light?
Yeah, I think the numb parts, the parts where I feel I don't live up to my own expectations or other expectations, um, the parts that are afraid of feeling pleasure still, of owning all my sensations, even the ones
Mm.
that like don't make me this, orgasmic goddess. Yeah, the times when I actually don't feel much or I'm even bored and I'm like, oh, really? So why is nothing happening? So yeah.
Thank you. And what dies in you when you pretend? And what comes alive when you don't?
Dies in me is the trust in myself and my experience as being valid no matter what I experience without judging them. Because I think it's when we compare, when we judge, right?
Mhm.
Somehow we devalue our own feelings, our own sensations. And if I don't do that, so if I'm not chasing really, any peak experiences, if I'm just really being present with what is and just feel a connection to my body, like,
Mhm.
just like when I the arm on myself or, just even that, it's like, okay, I'm feeling something. My God, how lucky am I, right? That I have my senses. Like this is already so much. Yeah, and then just gratitude for that.
Even in numbness, right? That's what I'm learning. Even in numbness, when you can see it and feel it, you're like, oh, I can feel the numbness, right?
Yeah.
So finish this sentence. When I leave this life, I want my skin to remember.
Shivers,
Mm,
erotic
yeah,
shivers, and sizzling and electric currents.
yeah, I'm up for that. Absolutely. And if the soul has a scent, what does yours smell like today?
Oh, jasmine.
Oh, beautiful.
Mm,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
thank
you for showing up. Thank
you.
you for showing up so fully, so truthfully, and for playing with me and doing this whole experience. I'm like, would you do it again?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I think I'm kind of hooked now. I thought at first I was like, I want to be a rigger, and I'm like, nope, I think I'm just good to be tied.
Or
Right?
like
So I'm
even
just good
playing
to
with
be
someone
or
else being
playing with.
kind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like
I'm
that
good.
you're in this, yeah. I mean, there's lots of constellations one can play with, right? So, and I also
Yeah.
feel like this experience really helped me to go deeper into what we've
Mhm,
experienced and to integrate it more. And
mhm,
yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you.
mhm.
Very
Thank
good.
you. So, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way? Who wants to work with a beautiful tantric practitioner,
Oh,
sexual empowerment coach, liberation, sexual liberation? Yes.
so like go to my Instagram and just like drop into my DMs, I think this is the best way. It's the most direct way. It's like we can start a conversation. Yeah, ask me questions. Sign up for some beautiful coaching work, some de-armoring work, some sexual liberation work, and yeah, we also have workshops coming up. So there's one next week in Germany, and then some more coming up in the UK as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Yay. Amazing. And for those of you out there, moonletters, send them in. Where are you bound in your life? Where do you want to set yourself free? Do you know what your skin feels like when it's bound? And does anything like Shibari, has that ever spoken to you into this mystery, or have we woken up something brand new in you? So thank you for joining us. If you also would like to work with me, you can always reach me at info@luvology.com, and you can always head to my website at gwenmcarsley.com. And otherwise, have a fabulous, beautiful week, and I will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Skin and Soul with me, Gwenm. Join me Fridays at 10 a.m. PST on Transformation Talk Radio. Catch the podcast anytime on your favorite platforms. You can follow me on Instagram at Luvology. Ready to take the next step? Book a compatibility call with me at gwenmcarsley.com.